You have created a vibrational reality, and nothing less than that will do. And it is more than what you've already allowed to manifest. And so, yeah, we are asking you not to turn your attention away from your reality. That's not the answer. We're just asking you to understand what we just said and to set forth an intention that you're going to allow yourself that clear space of dreaming more. Because, now here's what we've been leading up to through all of this conversation. We are using the words, get out ahead of what is. Well, we're asking a lot of you, because here you are, focused in your physical reality, trying to accept that there is a non-physical reality that we're talking about, and paying attention to your emotions, and we're asking you to get out ahead of what is. And you gotta wonder, what are you talking about? What do you mean, get out ahead of what is? And we say, stop observing what is so much. And you say, that doesn't even make any sense. Here I am in a room, I can feel the temperature, I can hear sounds, I'm looking around, there's too many of us in here. In other words, there's a now reality that sort of kind of has my attention. And we say, yeah, all of that is a reality, but there's another reality going on in this room too that we're wanting to get your attention to. And so what we're really talking about is focus. What we're really talking about is a vibrational focus. We're talking about tuning to a frequency more often. So when we say get out ahead of it, it's as simple as this. We offered a process some years ago called segment intending. And segment intending goes like this. I recognize that I'm going to enter a new segment in a moment. I'm going to get in my car and go somewhere. New segment because I'm in my car, not in my house. And new segment because I'm alone, or maybe I'm with a different person than I was just with. And new segment because I have different intentions. That's the most important thing. It's a new segment, and the segment has different intentions. If you're having dinner at a table, and there have been 3 of you there, and you've got a pretty good conversation going, and the 4th one, the one who was late, shows up, new segment. Because that one is not up to speed or down to speed. So a new segment just happened. So it's really, really helpful if you are out ahead of now by anticipating the new segment, and if you are staking your vibrational claim to it. I'm really going to enjoy this drive today. I'm going to see things that I don't usually see. I'm going to appreciate my car in a more exaggerated way. I like being in this car, and I'm going to enjoy its stability and its security and its comfort. I'm going to be alert and intuitive, and I'm going to place myself well in the traffic and in the choosing of the route. This is segment intending. This is getting out ahead of it. And hear the practical nature of this. You're not in the car yet. You're not moving down the road yet. Now here's our question to you. Is your memory of yesterday in the car going to supersede this segment intending? Because that's the question that we're asking you. Because if what happened yesterday when you got stuck on the bridge, or what happened yesterday when all those bad drivers were in your way or rudely interacting with you, in other words, if your memory of, you see, here's the thing. Life is a continuum, isn't it? So there was before, and then there's now, and then there's what's coming next. But you are offering all of your power here and now. So what are you doing now? Are you here and now activating the vibration of the bad traffic yesterday? Or are you segment intending and going to a place where you haven't been before and anticipating differently, and therefore allowing the universe to deliver to the different you, because you're vibrationally different than the old you? Are you the creator of your reality, or are you the regurgitator of your reality? And most people, through their memory, through their living of life, through their retelling of the same story over and over again, you can be in a spot on the road and you can remember, oh yeah, this is where that guy really cut me off and then flipped me off. And so you have to decide that you want to get out ahead of it. And by that we mean get out ahead of the usual vibration you offer, unless the usual vibration you offer is divine. Esther visited some friends in Nashville the other day. Her first time in Nashville, she really liked it. And her first time with these friends in their house, and her first time meeting their wonderful little dogs. And oh, this sweet little dog really took to Esther. and wanted to be on Esther's lap and wanted to lick Esther's face, wanted only to lick Esther's face, wanted only to lick Esther's face, and looked at Esther with such intensity of love and appreciation and lickiness. Esther said, "I am forever transformed. No one has ever loved me like this before." It was an exhilarating experience. Well, now Esther, she can go into the past and reactivate that and be in a total state of alignment and allowing. We're not saying that there are not things from your past that can put you in a state of, we're just asking you to selectively sift. And in fact, we're not even asking you so much to selectively sift right now, not just for a little while, just for a day or 2 or 3 or 4, a week, 2 weeks, just for a little while, 2 weeks, a month, just for a little while, just for a little while. We're asking you not to try to clean up what you've been living and not try to go into the past sifting and sorting, because it's a minefield out there. What you've been living has so many possibilities. Don't let that be your point of focus. Just let that life come to you as it will, and it will. And that's just fine, and whatever comes is fine. But just for a little while, let your intent be, I'm going to get out ahead of it in these ways. I'm going to do more segment intenting, and I'm going to find snatches in time, best after I've meditated or first thing in the morning when the vibrational slate is more clear. And I'm just going to let myself daydream. Now, here's what we mean by that. We know you've done it, you just don't know how you've done it. Here's what we mean by it. But in order for you to get this, you got to understand what we said earlier about the absolute existence of your vibrational reality. Because everything that you have desired before you came into this body and since is vibrationally active there, and is in the process of calling the components, the cooperative components there. That's your true point of attraction. And from that vortex, when you are out ahead of where you stand, meaning clear space, open, tuned in, tapped in, turned on, receptive mode, the vortex will begin demonstrating to you in the form of daydreams. Just little snatches in time. You'll get glimpses of things. You'll get glimpses of pleasing things. And we want you to know, because of this conversation, the importance and the power of that. And we want you most of all to feel the purity of it. And in the purity, there is the power. In the no contradicting it with any kind of reality. What you're going to begin to notice first, be a little infrequent, but it will become more and more frequent. And once you get hold of a piece of something and you let yourself go into it and your mind begins rolling with it, manifestations will begin to line up right away. Everything that you're ready for, once you accomplish that, you can do that in 2 or 3 minutes time. We are not kidding you. You can feel the fullness of it. We're going to tell you what happened to Esther. You're the first ones to know about it. And it's awesome. And it may help you to understand through the practical nature of this conversation everything that we've been saying to you since we got together here today. How you doing? All right. So Jerry and Esther put together, you know Jerry, he croaked. He's so happy. And here all the time. So Jerry and Esther found a piece of property, and it was just a few acres, and focused on it, and then in their positive attention to it, another 6 acres adjoining it was offered to them, and then another 7, and then another 20, so that they ended up with approximately 40 acres. Jerry laughed about that because he grew up on 40-acre farms, and so he thought it was quite interesting that this lovely land became that. And then they began loving it and building on it. And if you've been listening to us for a while, you've heard us describing the unfolding of the treehouse and the unfolding of this and that and this and that and this and that. There are hundreds of powerful, life-giving examples of how the universe works that they lived, and many of them we talked about. So now here's 40 acres, and Esther just did her income taxes, and she's aware of the enormous upkeep on this acreage. And she's thinking about, Jerry's not there, and it felt like it was their dream, and now he's not there guiding it quite in the same way. And Esther found a house in town and moved from the property. She was living on the property, and so she was beginning to feel some detachment from the property, which didn't feel good to her, but it felt like she was being called there. And so as long as she didn't focus on detachment from the property, she didn't feel uncomfortable. As long as she focused on where she was going, she felt wonderful. So a series of things unfolded, and we're not going to take the time to explain all of them to you, but a whole sequence of things began unfolding in Esther's experience that were all that kind of property related, and things sort of clicking into place for something that Esther hadn't received yet, so she didn't even notice that things were clicking into place. She'd get a piece of it which didn't mean anything, and then another piece of it which didn't mean anything, and then another piece of it which didn't mean anything, and all the while she's just busy coming out to see you, not spending hardly any time on that property. And on that property there are man-made waterfalls and river streams and ponds. There's a tree house and beautiful buildings with Buckminster Fuller's creation of a parabolic hyperboloid roof, or it's a paraboloid hyperboloid. Esther can't find the words for it. It's a weird roof, nothing like she'd ever seen before. So anyway, here's this property. And so then as all of this is there, we want you to feel the pre-Jerry and Esther conversation about this. One day, this is going to be very meaningful to you. We know it doesn't feel like it's about you, but it's everything about you. As you get this, you're going to get everything. So one day, many years ago, Jerry and Esther were walking on somebody else's property on a hot summer day, ducking under the cedar trees. And they came out into a little pasture, and Jerry said, "Can you feel this?" And Esther said, "What is this?" And Jerry said, "There must have been happy people here." And they just stood and basked in the deliciousness of that little meadow. And then many years passed, and they bought the 6 acres and the 7 acres and the other and the other and the other and the other. And now they've built what they call their center building. It's the heart of Abraham Hicks Publications. And at the far end of this long building is the office that Jerry and Esther set aside for themselves. And they're sitting there, and Jerry said, "Oh, Esther, I think we're sitting right where that meadow was." He got the plot map out, looked at it, recalled as best he could. Yeah, that's exactly where their office was, right in the middle of where that good-feeling meadow was. Jerry said, "Oh, Esther, will you get Abraham? I really want to talk to them about this." So Esther relaxes, and we join the party in a more obvious way. We're always at their parties, and none of you have any privacy. And Jerry said, "Abraham, remember all those years ago when Esther and I were walking and we found this meadow, and now we're sitting right in the middle of that? Was I feeling the happy people that were there before?" And we said, "No, you're the happy people." So, something in the vortex, something already in the vortex, already taking form. They didn't know they had access to it, but they received an impulse and another impulse and another impulse and another impulse and another impulse. So this property is full of all of those kinds of life experiences that gave them, and therefore us, the opportunity to converse with all of you about the way all of this works.